After 17 years in exile, Bangladesh Nationalist Party's acting chairman, Tarique Rahman, has returned to Dhaka. And it marks a major political event in the country's history after the ousting of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina last year during the July uprising. Rahman, accompanied by his wife Zubeda and Dr. Zaima, arrived from London on a Biman Bangladesh Airlines flight. The flight made a stop in Sylhet before heading to Dhaka's Hazrat Shah Jalal International Airport, where a massive crowd had gathered near the airport and along the 300-foot road, where BNP leaders and activists organized a grand reception to welcome the Rahman family. Supporters from across the country had assembled, turning the area into a sea of people to manage the crowd. Airport authorities imposed a 24-hour ban on visitors at Hazrat Shah Jalal International Airport. According to local media reports, the restrictions will remain in force till 6 p.m. local time. According to the press secretary of the chief advisor, the interim government welcomed Rahman's return to the country, adding that security preparations have been finalized in coordination with the BNP. Later in the day, Rahman will visit Evercare hospitals to visit his mother, Khalida Zia, who is currently under medical care. He will later move to his residence at Gulshan Avenue in Dhaka. During his visit, he is also scheduled to register himself as a voter. Meanwhile, nomination forms have already been collected in Bogura on behalf of Khalida Zia and Rahman for the parliamentary elections, which are scheduled for 12th of February. Now let's dive deeper into Rahman's life. Known in Bangladesh as Tarique Zia, he carries a political name that has defined his life. Born in 1967, when the country was still East Pakistan, he was briefly detained as a child during the 1971 Independence War. The BNP hails him as one of the youngest prisoners of war. His father, Ziaur Rahman, was an army commander, and Ziaur Rahman was assassinated when his son was just 15 years of age. The younger Rahman grew up in his mother's political orbit as Zia went on to become the country's first female prime minister. Alternating her terms in power with Hasina, Rahman was arrested on corruption charges in 2007 and claimed he was tortured in custody. Freed later that year, he flew to London in 2008 for medical treatment and never returned until now. And for more on this, we're now being joined by Ambassador Veena Sikri. She is a former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh. Now, Ambassador Sikri, Tarique Rahman has returned to Bangladesh after 17 years in exile, and this is just weeks before the elections from which the Awami League is banned from contesting. How do you assess the impact of his return on the political dynamics ahead of the polls in Bangladesh?
Well, yes, it is a turning moment in Bangladesh's contemporary history. For 17 years, Tarique Rahman has been in exile in London. And the question arises, what will the impact of his return have on the current political scenario in Bangladesh? There are two or three aspects that we have to look at. The common assessment is that, yes, of course, BNP has to get all the votes because after the Awami League had been banned, the activities of the Awami League had been banned, one would think that the BNP would be the automatic recipient of the vote. But I think this does not take into account the fact that it's the Jamaat-e-Islami that is wielding power at the moment in Bangladesh. They are the power behind that throne. They are appointing everybody, whether it is in the judiciary, in the academia, in the bureaucracy. These are all Jamaat-e-Islami people who are being appointed. And the last 15 months have shown that although Jamaat-e-Islami has been in partnership with BNP between 2001 and 2006 in the alliance government formed under Begum Khalida Zia as Prime Minister, but in the last 15 months, Jamaat-e-Islami has shown a preference for the other Islamist parties, and they are getting together a coalition of Islamist parties, whether it is Islami Annulment Bangladesh, whether it is Hizb ut-Tahrir, whether it is Inqilab Mancho, and so on, and they have been pushing aside the BNP. So the expectation is that it will be a direct clash between the BNP and the Jamaat-e-Islami. I think even in the polls that have been conducted, the national opinion surveys conducted in Bangladesh in recent weeks, one poll showed very clearly, done by Pratham Alo, the largest Bengali language newspaper in Bangladesh, showed very clearly that 70% of the people of Bangladesh want the Awami League to take part in the elections. It doesn't mean that 70% will vote for Awami League, but they want free, fair and participatory elections, inclusive elections in Bangladesh, so that they will be credible. Now, this is a very important point because the Yunus regime has decided not to allow the Awami League to ban against all norms. I mean, they're not even a constitutional legitimate government themselves, but they've decided on their own to say that the Awami League will not be allowed to conduct any political activities. Now, this is something that is being resisted by the people. I think the Awami League's vote bank has shown itself to be intact. And the people who are in favor of liberation war values, you can add that to the Awami League vote bank. They may not like Sheikh Hasina, but they value the liberation war. So that is an element. And if you leave these people out of the election, there's going to be continued instability and violence. Even if you see a clash directly between the Jamaat and the BNP, there are two conflicting surveys. The survey by Pratham Alo said that if the voting took place in September, the BNP would be the beneficiary and get about 60% of the vote. But a similar survey by the IRI, the International Republican Institute, the American institute, which has been playing a big role in the events in Bangladesh, this survey said that the gap between Jamaat-e-Islami and BNP is much less. They gave 33% points to BNP and 29 to Jamaat-e-Islami. But if you add the support given separately for the NCP, which is a students' party, which is probably going to align with the Jamaat-e-Islami, and to the Islami Andolan Bangladesh and others, then clearly the Jamaat-e-Islami has a higher percentage of vote than the BNP. So this is a clash that is building up. There are a lot of questions about Tarique Rahman having been in London for 17 long years. Who were his supporters? Who were his benefactors? Who were his financial supporters? There's a great talk everywhere in Bangladesh that it was the ISI that was supporting him, and to some extent the Jamaat-e-Islami that was supporting him. And now that he's come back, I mean, these people will be looking to see how he returns the support they gave for him. So what BNP will say, what Tarique Rahman will say in his speech later today, this is going to be carefully watched. Yes, he has said that he hasn't spoken against the Jamaat-e-Islami, but he has criticized some aspects of what Yunus is doing, like, for example, the foreign policy decisions they are taking. But we know that the BNP during their time in power was also very closely influenced by Pakistan, and that aspect is there. So I think all in all, we have to be wary, because even at the grassroots level in Bangladesh, the BNP has discredited itself over the last 15 months, because they claim to be responsible for all the extortion, for all the grabbing of tenders, for all the money-making activities that have been going on.
Absolutely, Ambassador Sikri, and you've highlighted some very interesting contradictions that are unfolding in Bangladesh's political tapestry. And speaking of Jamaat-e-Islami, it has been flexing its muscle after the country's top court lifted the ban on it, and the party is mobilizing supporters demanding arrest and accountability around Osman Hadi's killing. Now, given these developments, how would you view the role of Jamaat-e-Islami in Bangladesh's politics? Would you say it's been constructive, or do you still think that the effect is rather destructive, contributing to further divisions in the country?
I think to understand the role of Jamaat-e-Islami, we have to appreciate that who are the people in power today. It's the Jamaat-e-Islami, definitely, but they were put in power by the regime change operation conducted in August last year, conducted by Pakistan at the behest of external powers, Western powers, and conducted entirely through the Jamaat-e-Islami. So the Pakistan Jamaat-e-Islami nexus was something that is well known. It was the nexus which fought the liberation war on the losing side in 1971. But today they have come to power, and they want to bring back what they had in pre-1971 East Pakistan, which is they want to have a direct nexus between Pakistan and Bangladesh. There is a talk of a defense pact being concluded between Pakistan and Bangladesh. There is a talk of, there's evidence of Pakistan trying to embed itself with the Bangladesh army. They're sending their senior generals and brigadiers into Pakistan and embedding them with different divisions of the Bangladesh army, even fairly near the border with India. So I think the activities of Pakistan cannot be taken lightly right now, because they're entirely acting through the Jamaat-e-Islami, and that has been their conduit for the last 70 years or more, 85 years, ever since the Jamaat-e-Islami was formed by Maulana Maududi. So I think this is something that we have to take a very careful note of. And I think also I would like to say that even in the BNP, there is a big constituency of the BNP, maybe 50% or more, that is actually pro-Jamaat. And it is this constituency led by people like Salahuddin Ahmad who are actually controlling Tarique Rahman's program, who are controlling his statements, who will be in very close control. The liberal section of the BNP, led by people like Mirza Fakhrul, who is the general secretary of the party, they are nowhere on the scene right now. In fact, at one point, Mirza Fakhrul had even said in May of this year that Awami League should be allowed to take part in the elections because they want democratic elections, they want credible elections. But this was ruled out by the pro-Jamaat section of the BNP, and since then they have never repeated that. So this complication of the Jamaat acting through that portion of the BNP, which is in favor, makes it seem more and more that the Jamaat will exercise its power. And there is
Ambassador Sikri, very valid points there. But of course, we'll have to wait and see how the situation develops in the build-up to February 12th. But for now, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your valuable insights with us.